Good afternoon, good evening, wherever the hell you are in the world, and welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. And I just thought I would go live. I promised you guys I would try to do this a little bit more often, and we can talk a little bit about Stargate. You can ask the questions, you can decide what we're going to talk about. So, we'll get into it. Been a bit of an interesting week, actually. We've had a couple of bits and bobs drop. First of all, we are going to talk about the Popcast Brothers video that went on, because I've had a few questions about that. We'll have a little bit of a chat about Timekeepers, and we'll have a little bit of chat about these SGU rumours and what do we think they mean, if anything. I'm leaning towards they mean nothing, but we'll have a chat about it and we'll see what you guys think as well. Let's just have a look who's in. Popcorn Power's in. Jordanator, how you doing? Batmal the Gator, very nice. Jordan, good evening, Jay, and good evening, Geordie. So, my son's name's Geordie. Just side bit of interest. Andrew, howdy, sir. How are you diddling? Right, so first of all, the Popcast Brothers, Kerry, Davey B, everybody's in the house. The Popcast Brothers video. I assume you guys, or a lot of you guys, if you Gators big fans, will have seen it. It's the first. Everyone's in. Simone, Laura, Me Nails, Vortex. How are you, sir? If anybody's got any questions, oh, it's not true. It's quite nasal, but anyway. Bobby's in. See here. See what's up. The sky. Sorry. So the Popcast Brothers video. So I've had a few questions about what in the video did I agree with, what in the video didn't I agree with. There's a couple of things in there that I don't think are quite right, but mostly on the whole, the guys did. Jess, how you doing? Dave, evening. The guys did a video that pretty much covered everything we've been talking about in the last 6 months. So the Stargate was going to get announced at SDCC, at the San Diego Comic-Con. The Popcast guy said their source had actually seen the teaser video that they were going to put up. It said it was going to pan across the San Francisco Bridge, and then it was going to go underwater, and we were going to see the gate dialing up, and that was going to be the start of that, that little teaser. I've not heard that. I've not seen this teaser. I did see a little snippet, thanks to one of my sources, about some promotional work they did about 6 months ago. But that was when they were still thinking about announcing this back in January, and it sounded similar, to be fair. It started in San Francisco, but it didn't then go under the water and stuff. So I don't know about that. Alien World, how are you doing? So and the Gator. So I don't know about that intro sequence that they mentioned. My understanding is they decided they weren't going to be announcing at San Diego Comic-Con as early as maybe March or April. They sort of realized that the actors were going to go on strike. Chances are they were pausing and waiting because the directors agreed a deal. So then there was a little bit of confidence, maybe. They're thinking, right, if the directors have agreed a deal, that kind of takes a lot of the wind out of the sails of the writers. So maybe the actors won't go on strike. But then it went on and on and on. And obviously it became clear that the actors were going to go on strike. And it was agreed they weren't going to announce anything. But I've only found out in the last 2 weeks that actually about 6 weeks ago, or maybe even as much as 2 months ago, they decided they weren't going to announce at San Diego Comic-Con. Another thing they mentioned was that there's no David Blue has been approached to play Eli. We're going to talk about the SGU rumors a little bit later, but I 100% agree with the Popcast guys on that one as well. As I've been told a few times now that David Blue has not been approached informally or formally about anything, and in fact, that Amazon don't want to. Now, I have been told a couple of rumors about why that is, but I don't think it's fair to share. Because really, Trekgate's got a good point there. Futurama keeps going backwards and forwards, and it keeps coming back. As Harris will tell you, it's his favorite sci-fi show ever made. That top of his list, best sci-fi show ever made. Idiot. Amanda Tapping, right? So could go away from Popcast for 2 seconds. The rumor I heard, God, it must be 8-9 months ago, was that actually Amazon had already talked to Amanda Tapping about potentially coming back and maybe directing and everything with the Stargate. My understanding is she signed an NDA. She's not allowed to talk about it, but she is aware that there are certain plans. There was also a conversation apparently about her maybe coming back as an executive producer or something like that, because that's work she does with other things. So yes, basically, it's very, very possible that Amanda Tapping could, because one thing Amazon are very, very concerned about is that there's it's the rings of power problem that we've talked about loads of times on the channel, and they don't want any negative YouTubers. I don't do that, but that nonsense that came with Rings of Power and lots of other shows, those hate clickers, they don't want to do that. And one of the ways they can do it, this is how executives think, is get somebody like Amanda Tapping to direct or showrun or executive produce or something like that, because it immediately takes a lot of the emphasis away from the hate clickers to go, oh, new people, new this, new that. No, Brad, right. If you do that, it really helps. So I think there's a very, very good chance Amanda Tapping could be involved heavily in this. I mean, there's nothing stopping Amazon that we know of. There's nothing stopping Amazon announcing this right now. It could literally come tomorrow. My understanding is, again, they have a director informally. They have a lot of development work done informally. They potentially have a script. There's lots of things that are lined up. What they don't want to do is make themselves look like an evil big studio that doesn't care about the writers and the directors and everything. So while the strike's going on, I think it's unlikely, just because it would be a bit of a PR problem. But there is actually nothing now. And if the director signed a deal tomorrow, I think we'd know within about a week. I think we'd know quite quickly if they actually got the director to agree, because then you're starting to actually lock stuff in, and it starts to become a lot more difficult to keep a lid on it. Lots of leaks have come out from Amazon, obviously, but if Deadline or Variety start actually getting leaks that they can verify and the story comes out, then obviously the cat's out the bag. We're going to talk about the Deadline story in a second as well. Doesn't make sense for the teaser to pan under San Francisco Bay to gate dialing. No, I don't understand why it's underwater, why there's a gate underwater, unless that's something to do with the storyline, obviously, that we don't know. So that could be something interesting, or it could just be that they thought it was a funky shot. I don't know. Yeah, and I think the only thing that worries me about the development work and the pause that's now put on Stargate is that it does give people time to think about stuff, and to executives to get involved and start thinking about stuff. And one of the things they might do is start thinking that maybe they could do it cheaper. And we don't want that. We don't want them thinking now. We want them doing. But I do think there's a lot of development work going on. I've got a video coming actually about Brad Wright's way of setting up TV shows and things that'll be on in a week or two. And setting up the rules and setting up the plan. And actually the planning stage is very, very important if you want a nice coherent sci-fi show. So I do think that's going to be really important. It's difficult. Alien World Softcast. Is Jason Moe done with Stargate? Could he pull some strings? I've only ever seen him speak in interviews about Stargate a couple of times, and he's always really positive about it. He always seems like that's what started his career, with Stargate Atlantis. And it's a character that he really enjoyed playing. We've said it a million times, didn't we? If you're going to do a Stargate movie that's actually going to succeed, get Jason Momoa to come back as Ronan and run a movie. It actually would be a sneaky way of setting up a lot of things as well, because whatever he's running from or whatever problems have been caused, that's a sneaky way of like telling us a lot of what happened over the last 10 years, 15 years. So I think when I sort of write that story in my head, it solves a lot of problems doing a film like that. And also, but you can keep it as like an action movie. It can be quite simple, basic plot of him running from a bad guy who's got some sort of problem he's having to, fight against with his magnums. But it it allows you to have a lot of stuff going on in the background, which tells us a lot of things. Ronin movie, defending the planet. Yeah, 100%. I agree with it. I think that should be a no-brainer. It's whether they get him to do it, and whether Amazon are willing to pay. Because at the moment, we've heard rumors again that the budget is looking at about $70 million. For a sci-fi straight to cinema movie, that's not a massive budget. Now, that's an initial working budget. It could become more than that. But Jason Momoa is probably going to want a best part of 20 million to do it. Unless you give him a smaller fee, say maybe 5 million, give him a producer role, and then give him a back end like they did with Robert Downey Jr. when they got him to do Iron Man. That's a way of doing it. Give him 1% of the gross afterwards. He'd probably go for that, because if the film does well, he could make a lot of money. That's one way, I think. If you look at actors, a lot of the actors of age, they're a bit older. Obviously, Richard Dean Anderson is a lot. He's in his 70s. But a lot of the actors look great. Joe Flanagan looks great. Amanda Tapping looks great. Michael Shanks looks great. On and on and on. To be honest, none of these actors, maybe Richard Dean Anderson, but to be honest, he still looks pretty good. He's lost a load of weight and he's looking pretty good. I would say none of these actors you can signal out sort of thing. All of them should return. I think all of them could return in little bits, and if they don't get David Hewlett back in, I don't know what the hell's going on. But right, so the Popcast thing. So they basically said that there's going to be no David Blue to return. Now they've took that to mean that means there's going to be no SGU conclusion. We'll talk about the SGU animated movie in a bit, but I think, if I'm honest, I don't think there will be an SGU conclusion immediately. I think that will come much later. I don't think they'd have approached David Blue now anyway, but I think the Popcast guys here were sort of insinuating what I've been told again is that they don't want to approach him, and I'm not going to say any more than that, because it's stuff I don't really know 100% if it's true or not. But apparently there are some issues there. So even if they did do an SGU something, David Blue may not appear in it. So now I don't think that necessarily means there won't be an SGU thing. I don't think that means, well, the SGU animated movie rumor isn't true, because you could Eli's either dead, he was the one that was awake, there could be a disaster, he didn't survive, and then the pods open and Russian people come out. If they do an animated movie, they can just get somebody else to voice his role if they really, really don't want David Blue involved for whatever reason. And, I've already put the video up. What did you say, Vortex, on the content? What about? I'd love to know what your comment was. Yeah, RDA was great after season 5. Yeah, he was. He's an old man. He's white now. Long hair still. He's got more hair than me. So, do you think a season 6 of Atlantis can be produced instead of a new series? No, if I'm honest. Probably not. I think Atlantis will be in the series, movies or something at some point, but I don't think they will revive SGU or SGA. I think even when we get a revival of SG1, which is the rumor that I've heard repeatedly, that's kind of thing they want to do, it won't be a straight up revival as in all the actors come back and it's all exactly the same. It'll be like that style of show. But you can argue that SGA was very much similar in SG1 in lots of ways and style. So I don't think they'll just do a straight up, that would be something Gators would love, but the executives aren't thinking about just what we love. They're not just thinking about us Gators, they're thinking about all the new people that they want to bring into it as well, and all the new audience they want to generate. So no, if I'm honest, they could, but they won't. I think SGU completely out, it wouldn't make sense. I agree with you in lots of ways. This is my one problem. We'll talk about the SGU rumors for the animated movie now instead of later. We'll talk about it now. I said in the video when I talked about that, because I got to share this information from a source that I know works at MGM. I don't talk to them very often, but they just came to me with this message going, well, how did you know that they're doing an SGU movie, animated movie? And I said, I didn't. That was just me thinking out loud. I thought it was logical. And then, but I didn't get much more information out of them than that. So I've put that information out there. She has suggested that there is an animated movie and it's already in production. I don't know any more than that. So, but I have to admit, I doubt that's true. I don't think it's true. I think it's more likely. I don't think she's lying, but I think it's more likely there's been conversations. She's put 2 and 2 together and got 6. I think that's more likely. I think this rumor will be at least partly true, is what I'm saying. But I think in production, when all the strikes are coming up and everything, though, Amazon might have thought, look, we want to get something out. How about we just do an animated movie? We can get it smashed 6 months. We can get it done, and we can have it. We can release it within the 12 months. We could have it done not long after the strikes are done. We could have it released. So I think it is genuinely possible that they're doing an SGU animated movie. I think it's possible that it could already be in production. I just think it's unlikely. But in lots of ways, it makes sense because it would be much cheaper to produce. They produce these things for about $4 to $5 million, Warner Brothers. These Batman movies and things they've been doing for years. They always use the same technology. They always use the same animators. They're not setting up anything new. They're just redoing it. So, they're quite cheap to produce. They're quite quick to produce. Warner Brothers have got good at it. The Babylon 5 movie that we're going to come out, I believe the budget was $6 million. So it's nothing compared to live action. A live action even one episode of something live action would probably cost $10 million. And that's just for 1 hour sort of thing. So they can do a 2-hour movie for that, and they can do it quickly. So, but I don't think it makes sense when you're thinking about trying to then bring in a big, wider audience, because that's really a Gators thing. You need to have watched SGU for it to make sense. Now, an animated movie they could do but basically focus it at us. The Babylon 5 movie is aimed at Babylon. They're not doing that to create new Babylon 5 fans. They've made that for Babylon 5 fans. SGU animated movie could be made for us as an intro into everything else. But it was, if it is true, I can say to you, it was never the plan. It was never been discussed before, as far as I know. None of the other sources I've ever spoken to know anything about it. It was never the plan to do an SGU animated movie first, if it's true. If it happens, it's because of the strikes, basically. They've done it because the strikes can happen. Biggest mystery, we can't ignore that. Yeah, but it would, as I say, though, it would be simply for SGU fans. That's why I think an animated movie is more likely. We'd love to see a 3rd season of SGU. I'd love to see it. The show's getting good. It deserves it. But from a business point of view, it makes no sense. It just doesn't make any sense to do it. SGN return over SGU. SGU does deserve the conclusion. And that's why I think it would be a really nice way to start the new franchise, with getting us back to what we had before, and finishing all that off. Tying a nice bow on the first phase of the Stargate franchise and kicking off the new franchise. So that's why I think the animated movie, but that's why I thought the animated movie, that's why I came up with the idea of the animated movie, because I thought it was logical. So would it shock me that an executive has thought the same thing as me, that this would be a logical way to do this? Well, no, that's why it's maybe possible. I did and ah about doing that video, though, because it is speculation. There's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of information about that rumor I don't know. And a few people have got quite annoyed about that video because it's speculation. And I understand that. What I decided was, though, that at the end of the day, if I didn't do that video and then in 6 months' time they announce that there's an SGU animated movie and I sit here and go, I knew that back in July, I'd have been either going, yeah, right, whatever. So that's why I decided I'm just going to do it and talk about it. But yeah, the formula for a successful reboot is definitely more in line with what Atlantis did. I mean, just do it for today's audience. I wouldn't disagree with that. Yeah. Teal, private investigator. He's got nothing else to do. Nostalgia does sell, particularly at the moment. Nostalgia is very popular. Look, at the end of the day, Picard season 3 was just one big nostalgia fest, and it was very. And Trekkies got very excited because of it. But I have watched it since, and it's not so good second time round. Once the nostalgia wears off, and we do want something. It's got to be something new. But at the end of the day, the Stargate SG-1 formula is effective. It's like the original Star Trek formula: ship, explore, boom. TNG basically had exactly the same formula, modernized it, but a slightly different spin on it, different characters, obviously, and it was massively successful. But they kept the basic original formula. That's what I'm hoping they're going to do with Stargate, is that we're going to get that basic formula of SG-1, teams going through the gate, exploring, Monster of the Week stuff, as well as that overarching storylines, but keep it reasonably simple and don't try and be too clever with it. We've got a Stargate formula that works. Do that, but do it in a new way. Do it with new stories, new characters, new everything else. Quantum Leap kind of it was kind of a continuation. So it was a soft reboot in that it's new characters and everything, but it depends what you mean by soft reboot, because people argue about that. But in lots of ways, it was a continuation. In lots of ways, it's a new series. Let's have a look. What's people saying? Appeal to the greater audience. Stargate Barbie World crossover. Make the Barbie World the new one. He's a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. So, just having a look through the thing. There's a Jamie in the house. Hey, Jamie. Good name. Strong name. You spelt it wrongly. The I's in the wrong place. Until a few years ago, I never had to spell my name. Right, so I prefer to be called Jay or Jim. Sometimes my dad calls me Jim. But until about 10 years ago, Jamie, yes, Jamie, and then all of a sudden the I started wandering around. I've seen some people spell it with 2 I's. It's crazy. But I would love to see the discovery of friendly ancient replicators emulating ancient life and culture become allies. Another forgotten ancient experiment. Hello, closet living, breathing ancients. Why not? Wouldn't be very exciting though. They'd have to something would have to go wrong somewhere. Yeah, it would be very much in the vein of like the Castlevania, the Batman movies in the last years, the Babylon 5 movie. I think if this rumor is true, and I'm saying I'd like to say I wouldn't put money on it. I wouldn't give you good odds on it. So don't think I'm really supporting this rumor, because I'm not. But it'll look like the Babylon 5 movie if it comes out. It'll look like Castlevania, or maybe a bit more like the Babylon 5 movie, was a little bit more computer generated, because they're going to use the same software, the same artists, etc., as they're doing for a Babylon 5 movie, if it's true. So it will look like that. I know you can't talk about the stuff you know, but can you rate your secret on a scale of 1 to 10? Right, so Crowbar here is talking about something I mentioned on a live the other day. And I know there is something I know about the Stargate plans that I can't mention, because the source that has told it me is right next to it, basically. If I was to tell you the details of this, it would put his job at risk. Simple as that. So I've not been told. But I am very excited, and I do want to say it, and I keep letting it slip out, and I shouldn't. It's mean, and I'm really sorry about this, guys. But I would give it a good solid 7 out of 10. It's not like, Richard Dean Anderson is coming back and he's going to be showing, it's not like something like amazing, or, the entire cast is back, and it's not quite that thing, but it's really good. And when it gets announced, or if someone else leaks it, I really hope the Popcast guys had this. I told them this before the video came out, because obviously I knew it was coming out, and I was just like, I think I might know what you know, because they were really beefing this video up, like saying this is new exclusive information, and I disagree with them there. There was nothing new and nothing exclusive in the video, particularly, other than maybe the teaser bit. But so I actually messaged them and sort of was having a chat with them about it, and I actually said, I think I know what you've got, and if it's got, I really, really hope this is what you've got, because then I can say it. But they didn't have it. So fingers crossed. either I can get permission or it'll come out. But yeah, it's a good 7 or 8 out of 10. It's good. You'll like it. I know people hate. I just think with the animation thing, mate, at the moment, the option is it's either an animated movie or nothing. If the animated movie's being done, we can get that. We can even get it this year or early next year. It could be released. If it's live action, we're probably looking at 2 years now until we get anything actual, a movie, anything on our screens at the cinema. So I just think again, this is maybe just me being logical, maybe being a bit overly hopeful, but because it can be done so quickly and because it can be done really things, if the strikes go until January, which some people are saying they might, we could then get the Stargate announcement, say February. But how about you get a Stargate announcement and they say, oh, by the way, April 1st, April 1st, we're going to be releasing a Stargate SGU animated movie. It's going to be coming in within 8 weeks. Animated movie is going to drop. We would go nuts. And what a way to announce Stargate. People would talk about that. So again, it's a logical thing for them. I think they might have done. But SGU animated movie to the gators up and push the algorithm on Prime to expose more people to Stargate. And that's what it's about. That is what it's about. It's about those algorithms. It's about those things. It's about getting people to watch the damn show. And at the moment, there's a lot of excitement out there. We're going to talk about the Timekeepers game at the moment. There's a reason why it's been delayed till now. It's not just they've had some development issues, which they've had. They've had some storyline issues, which I'll explain as well. But the main reason is they don't want to release it until people will actually buy it. They need a lot of hype about Stargate, and the hype has been coming. So go back to this then. They did talk about in the podcast video that the movie is still the main plan. We know that. We've been talking about it for a long time, since November or December or something. We've been talking about that. The one thing I do disagree with them, and I've told them I disagree with them on this, is that they said the deadline story, was it March, April? A couple of months ago anyway, was a non-story. Didn't mean anything. People all got excited. I got excited about it, but it didn't mean anything. In the deadline story, it said RoboCop, Legally Blonde 3. That's the one we're excited for. You know it is. And Stargate. Probably a movie. They put probably in the storyline because we know, because we've been talking about it for months, and Jenny Stiven had been talking about it on Dial the Gate actually as well. But we know that's because there's a lot of infighting between MGM and Amazon at the moment, and one group want to do a series, the other group want to do a movie. Jennifer Salke's in charge though, so it looks like we're getting a movie. But because that conversation was still going on, they threw in the probably word. Now, I think that is really, really important because that's actually Amazon talking to Deadline. Now, the Popcast guy suggested that actually it was Deadline had just watched their video and then told us about it, and that's where they got the information from. And I'm like, Deadline don't do that. Deadline don't get information from YouTube videos. They're not watching me. They actually talk to executives, etc. They can actually talk to people formally. That information came from Amazon. That's why we can be excited about it. That's why it was really an important story. So that's the only thing really in the Popcast video I really disagree with them about. And I have said to them I disagree with them on that. I mean, you can argue that, okay, maybe they're listening to my videos. So in that case, the story should have come out last bloody September, because that's when we told you guys. So I don't think that's how that works, and that's why it's so important that that story came out, because that was, for as far as I'm concerned, the first confirmation formally that we've had. I hear loads and loads of rumors, but yeah. Vortex, you're right from a business perspective. It wouldn't make any business to bring SGU first. I agree with that. I wouldn't start with SGU. It's like Star Trek, one step after the other, but fast. And like I say, the original plan, as far as I know, was to start with a movie, come back with a series, and then at some point down the line, I have heard that they would like to resolve the SGU problem. Brad Wright wanted to do it when he was setting this up, and I think it would make sense. But it makes sense further down the line. Get the show established, get it up and running, get a few people watching it, and then give something to the Gators a bit later. That is the way they do it. Now, I've heard that is the plan. That's what I've heard of from many sources over the last 18 months. That is the plan. I do think, though, the only thing that's maybe, like I say, the joker in the pack is the strikes. And if this rumor's true, that'll be why. That's why we'll get SGU. It won't be because it was ever the plan. It will be because the strikes just made it make sense. And it'll be as simple as that. We all know SGU will end up that Rush, Eli create the universe, go back in time, and they cause the Big Bang. You can always tell a lot of TV shows when they don't have a plan. And I don't think Brad Wright does this for a second because he meticulously plans ahead. But you can tell TV shows sometimes, like Manifest and Lost and things like that, when they paint themselves into a corner and they don't know where to go next. So what they do is they basically have to say, God did it. And I always wonder if SGU was going to go that way, but I think they'd have had a plan for it. We need to merge all 3 TV shows into one somehow. I honestly think that is the plan. We're going to see all elements, definitely from SG1 and SG Atlantis anyway. We're going to see that. I think we'll see the wider Stargate universe. I will not be surprised if we see the Wraiths again, because that's, again, if you're talking about SGU not being concluded, SG Atlantis wasn't either. There were plans there for a movie that was supposed to wrap all that up. The Wraith is still out there. I do think we're going to see them again. The city ships. It's probably, Atlantis is probably the Earth's most valuable piece of technology, or resource. So we're going to see it again. It would make no sense otherwise if we didn't see it again. So yeah, I think that we're going to see bits of everything, and then I think SGU will be concluded at some point, and that will be brought into it. Maybe one of the 2 of the characters will be brought into it. Not David Blue, apparently. Jamie would actually prefer it to be left alone than animated. Now, I don't agree with you there on Jamie on that one. I honestly think I'd rather have that than nothing. I would rather have that than nothing. I won't love it as much as a live action. I'm with you on that. I don't like animated as much as live action. But the Babylon 5 animated movie, I'm genuinely excited about. And that is something we would not have got otherwise. It's an animated story. Yeah, okay. It's for Babylon 5 fans. It's not made for kids. Brilliant. But it won't be as good as if they'd have done a live action movie. Just won't. But it's better than nothing. I'd honestly rather have that. It's amazing. When the musical comes, I am not dancing. I sing occasionally. I can't help myself from singing occasionally, but I'm not dancing. No. So yeah. So on the whole, if you are wondering whether the Popcast video is legit, I can tell you as well that they've told me that their source is close to the project. So I asked around a couple of people that I know that are close to the project, and none of them have said they are anything to do with Popcast. They've never heard of these guys. They've not spoken to them. So it's a different source that they've got. And I don't speak to everybody involved. I speak to 1 or 2 people. I know 2 people that are reasonably close to what's going on. And they're more of the business side of things. So they're the people telling me that look, we're pretty sure there's a director involved, or we're pretty sure the studio space is going to be used, blah blah blah, things like that. This person that they speak to is maybe more creative side, and I've not got as much access to that. So, but the one thing I really like is that they've got virtually identical information to me. A slightly different perspective on a few things. That's fine. That's great because it gives us a bit more. I've always said to you guys, I don't see the full picture. I see snippets of information. I get bits of information. And then we try to piece that together. And then over time, sometimes we go, that makes sense now. We thought it was this, but no, it's like that. But you know what I mean? And so we try to piece that together. So this is just a little bit more information for us that we can then build on. Yeah, I think it's really good that they've done this video. So yeah, they mostly agree with what we're saying. They mostly agree with what Jenny Stiven's saying. Who appears on Gatecast. I think she'll be okay with me saying that we might be having Jenny Stiven come to speak to us at some point very shortly. We'll see. We're not 100% certain yet, but we're crossing our fingers. And yeah, I just think it'd be really interesting. It is really interesting, I should say, that they've come out with some of the similar information. They don't particularly watch my channel. I know I think they subscribe. I think that, you know, I see them comment occasionally, but I watch their stuff. I talk to them on lives. I talk to them through Twitter, but they don't necessarily. And I think they're the same as me. I don't particularly want to watch other channels particularly because I think it then muddles my thinking. I like to just do what I do. I talk to the people I speak to and I do what I do. And I think they're probably the same. They don't want to get information from us because it confuses your thinking if you start listening to everyone else's. So, are you interested in Stargate Timekeepers? Yes, I am. We could talk about it very quickly. It's been delayed by 2 years. It was supposed to come out 2 years ago. Now, Slytherins say there's been a load of story issues delaying it. It's going to be made up of basically 2 parts that you buy together, but it's like 2 bits. It's 14 episodes, they're calling them, or missions. It starts off after the aftermath of the Antarctica battle in SG1. And the creators said it's very much going to be in the vein of SG1, but it does jump through time. Now, I was told a long time ago that Amazon were very keen for this game to be drawn into the bigger universe that they're then hoping to create with the new Stargate franchise. I'm then being told that that is why this game has been delayed so much, because Amazon asked them to make some quite big changes to the game to make it fit with what they're planning to do later. Now, this game is we still don't actually have a release date. The beta is about to come out, which basically means it's a game that doesn't quite work. And you can actually go over to Slytherin. I think it's Slytherin.com. If you check the Gateworld store, it's on there. And you can actually request the beta version, and you can get like put on the waiting list to play it first, sort of thing. I'm going to do it. So yeah, I think I don't game a lot. I won't lie. We're going to have to get Matt to do this. But it's a Stargate game, so I will be playing it. And I've got to give it a go. But also, I will be playing it because if we get this game before an announcement of the movie, which I don't think we will, I think I think this game will get released just after the announcement. So if we get an announcement date for this game, because we still haven't got one, then be very interested a couple of weeks before that, because it might mean that they're going to announce. Because you think about it, this game comes out, if it comes out after the movie's released, movie's announced, that'll get a load more interest and it'll get a load more sales. So it's money, money, money. And Amazon like money. We all like money. So yeah, I think that's going to be very interesting to see. It's that whole thing about trying to have a multi-platform franchise, though, that Amazon, and I was talking to you guys about this 18 months ago, that they were talking about doing this multi-thing. So it'll be TV series, movies, games, comics. We're going to see all of this stuff again. And they really want to have the Stargate franchise in as many different ways as you can. So I think that's going to be really exciting. I don't dance, damn it. I'll dance with my wife. Bring back the evil Asgard. I think that's an interesting story idea. I think the Asgard coming back could be good. And I think the Asgard coming back could be a way, because one of the big problems we've got with Stargate now is they're too advanced. They've got the Asgard core, and that's a problem. If you bring back the evil Asgard, that's because the Asgard that were not very nice come and they want the core sort of thing, and they actually almost like blame us for the loss of the Asgard. I think that could be an interesting storyline, an interesting way of going. I don't know who you've offended, Trekgate, but be more careful. I don't know. You didn't offend me, so I don't know what happened there. Evil dancing Asgard. Lee, of the 4 races, which is your favourite? Ooh, it's a good question. Guys, get in this one. I think it might be the Nox. They didn't make any sense, the Nox. And that's kind of why I like them. They're tree-hugging hippies, but then they've got massive floating cities. Some are quite big, like, paradoxes there going on. The Furlings are the most interesting. They're the ones that most interest me, because we know barely anything about them. And I still think they're going to be the best. If you want a good villain for the new series, make it the Furlings, because we know nothing about them. They're a complete mystery. So you could do anything with that. So yeah, but I always really like the Nox. Just Armin Shimmerman played one of them as well, and I like him. Get a bit of Quark going. So, but guys, get into comments. What do you think? Needs about 50 DVDs. Not the only, yeah. No, that's not fair, David. The problem is with Stargate Universe is it's really a mixed bag that people either love or hate it. There are some people, and a lot of people out there, that genuinely believe Stargate Universe is the best iteration of Stargate. I don't agree with them, but they genuinely do. It would do well. But the main thing is as well, a lot of just hardcore gators will watch the SGU movie, because even if you didn't like Stargate Universe, if you're a gator, it must niggle you a little bit that story never got ended, that story is still just there. They're just floating through space. Like, it must niggle you if you didn't like Stargate Atlantis, you still want the story to be concluded, because it's just left there dangling, and I want it sorted. But I think it'll do really well. Evil Asgard branch would be excellent for a new big bad. Yeah, let's do that. On April 1st, though, that was a joke. Giorgio. Honest pays dividends. You stated didn't make sense as general statement on the show plot, but then it did. You reveal, after extensive questioning, it feels good to find any reason to talk down about the show. Guys, don't argue. Just be nice. Yeah, having some new content to drop just as the Rise Strike end would make a hell of a lot of hype. That's why I think maybe that Stargate Universe story has some merit to it. Maybe. I just find it hard to believe that they'll have got away with it without anyone knowing. But the thing is, I know I wouldn't have known. If they'd done the Stargate Universe movie, I'm absolutely certain I'd have heard nothing about it. Even though we did hear little bits. We heard that maybe they were talking to Robert Carlyle. And we did hear some stuff about executives talking about SGU. But it's being made by Warner Brothers. I haven't got any sources at Warner Brothers. I just haven't. I've got one person that worked at Warner Brothers for about 6 months, and then now they work over at Universal. So I don't know anybody that works at Warner Brothers. And obviously, because it's an animated movie, potentially, they're locked in a room. There's no... Unless somebody that's actually doing it talks, it's not going to get out. So that's the one thing I do think about this, because if it was true, which I don't know, the only people that are going to know are the people animating it, that maybe the people did the voices, but they'll have had to sign NDAs. And, anybody else wouldn't know. If they didn't bring David Blue back, say Eli isn't in it for whatever reason, if they've done this, or they've used an actor to voice Eli because of issues, then David Blue won't know anything about it. And he says, oh, maybe I'm out of the loop. He's commented on this on Twitter. Maybe I'm out of the loop. There isn't a loop for you to be in. So nobody would know. Nobody knew about the Babylon 5 movie until JMS dropped it, and it was already finished. It was done. So, yeah, it would create a massive... People would go nuts. Popcorn power, like the ones that kidnapped, yeah. Asgards and Furlings coalition is the new big bad. Why not? I've obviously missed something in the thing, because everyone keeps putting one. Why? I don't know what's going on there. Full circle, there's going to be a spiritual successor for the gold out of a survival necessity. That's pretty good, actually. That they are dying. The ones that are left are dying. So, yeah. Yeah, why not? The profitability of a movie seems much less than just a series do something like this, but I don't know. The profitability of the movie is a risk. There are still some Asgard knocking around in the Pegasus Galaxy and things. So there are still some. And we don't know that there could be a pocket of Asgard somewhere that we don't know about. So I don't think we can say they're extinct. We know the main civilization went extinct. So the profitability move seems much less. Yeah, I think that we've said this loads of times, haven't we? That the movie seems like a risk to us. The Popcast brothers have talked to me about this. They just think it's mental. When we first started talking about a movie before Christmas, I got loads of comments going, "That's nuts. They're not going to do that. That's stupid." And I got called a liar, as I always do. And then now it looks, last one laughing. But even I'm thinking, I don't want a movie first. I want a TV series. I asked you guys. I put a poll on. 90% of you said you want a TV series. And also, the other thing is, from a cost benefit point of view, it's mad. If they want to bring, right at the end of the day, if they do a 10-episode series for 100 million and they put that on MGM Plus, I'm hoping they don't, but if they put it on MGM Plus would grow very rapidly because people would have to subscribe to it. They'd have to. All of us would have to subscribe to it. We wouldn't want to, but we would. If they put it on Amazon Prime, even that will do very well for Amazon Prime, but they're not as bothered about Amazon Prime because Amazon Prime is already the second biggest streaming service. If they put it on Freevee because they want to push Freevee, people will watch it and they get advertisement revenue, and that will grow the Freevee brand because Stargate is a brand that people will go after. They will go and find it. This is what streaming services love. They love TV shows that people will come and find. They want a popular TV show, yeah. But if they can get a TV show that's got an audience of like maybe 10 million, but they're like obsessed 10 million, they love that show. And if they get a show that's like got 50 million people, but they flit in and out of it, they're not so bothered. They would rather have the 10 million obsessed fans. So that is why Stargate is as exciting for Amazon as it is, because they know the fans will follow it. A movie, if it goes under, if it doesn't do very well, it could kill the franchise really quickly, and that's what terrifies me. So yeah, Popcorn Power, they're all dead. See the episode, boom, they're not all dead. We saw their main planet die. We don't know if there are other colonies with Asgard on. We don't know. There could be a starship with a bunch of Asgards sat on for all we know. We don't know. We did see colonies outside, and we did see Asgard in the Pegasus Galaxy. So we don't know that they're all dead. So we just don't. Hard reboot. So on the live video I talked about last week, we did talk about how a hard reboot is still a possibility. I do think if they do a hard reboot and they do a hard reboot well, we won't moan. We'll moan at first. We won't like it. But then if it's good, word of mouth, gators will come to it. And in 5 years further down the line, we won't care. But it better be really, really good if they do a hard reboot. That show would have to be brilliant. There's no hiding from it because the gators will go nuts if it's not really, really good. It would just be such a risk. There's not long enough gone by between Ronald D. Moore's Battlestar Galactica had 30 years more. It was the early 80s, and then Battlestar Galactica came out late 90s, early 90s, wasn't it? Something like that. So there was a pretty big gap. We've only had 12 years, 15 years, 12 years since SGU ended. But also, the other thing is that Battlestar Galactica was very much set in its times. It was an 80s TV show. It wasn't the most expensive show in the world. It was very dated. You knew it was a late 70s, early 80s TV show. SG1 isn't like that. You can still watch SG1 now and it still looks great. There's no change on that one. So, it's not a dated TV show. So that's another reason why a hard reboot would be very difficult. Yeah, I think, I agree with you, Andrew. I think we will get a mix of all three. I'm going to try and catch up. Like Star Wars, yeah. Any idea where you can get a cache of ZPMs from? Radio Shack? Pretty sure. Humanized wraith travel back in time, become a myth of the vampires sleeping through the ages, popping up here and there, and they are sparkly. We did defeat the Ori, though. They're gone. We won. That was one of the problems with SG1 towards the end, wasn't it? We became gods. I think we could defeat the Wraith, though. We could defeat the Wraith using like biological weapons or something. We could defeat the Wraith. So I think there are ways. We do need to know what happened to Todd. Buffy the Wraith Slayer. I love the actor that played Todd, and then he went on to appear in that in Sanctuary as well, didn't he? And he appears in low. Yeah, Enemy at the Gate was an astonishingly good episode. I just think with the Wraith, we always go on about SGU because it was such a hammer nail the way it ended, and they're just, like I said, they're just floating up in space. We can go back and get them. But I think it's just as bad the way SGA ended. And I haven't talked about it enough on this channel at all. But SGA, we got swizzed when SGA got cancelled. It should never have got cancelled. It should have carried on for at least another 2 seasons. Or do the movie, But, I mean, it was just a calamity of errors. MGM couldn't afford it. MGM desperately wanted something new. They couldn't do both that and SGU. Brad Wright and stuff had this idea that they wanted to push, and they wanted to do something different. I get it. And so they made a decision, a management level, and they went, let's get rid of SGA and let's have SGU. Mistake. And it killed the franchise. But I forgot what I was saying. So there we go. I forgot where I was going with it. So yeah, I think we need to talk more about SGA because it was us losing SGA was, I think, just as bad as the way SGU ended, and we need to have an answer to it. Yeah, let's do the Extreme movie. Let's do the Extreme comedy series. I want to do it. Let's just go down to the bottom. Todd as an ambassador. Well, now that humans are on godlike level. Giorgio 1. Well, now that humans are on a godlike level, other who once ignored us, now we're looking in our direction with worry in their eyes. I think I know where you're going there with Giorgio, and that was my idea with when I said that, like, the or an element of the Furlings returned. I basically said that there was a part of the Furlings that got, because the Furlings kept getting attacked and a lot of their cities getting wiped out, particularly by the Gold. We saw that in that like suicide plant episode. I forget the name of the episode. And everyone committed suicide. That was an attack by the Gold against a Furling colony. So I actually argued that, right, so the Furlings then, after being attacked repeatedly, decided to try to wipe the Gold out, or an element of them did. And there was that element that they were imprisoned. In my idea, I did this series ages ago. Now you can go back and have a look at it. It's on one of the playlists. And so these Furlings were actually trapped within the Stargate. So they were basically sent to another dimension through a Stargate. And the Asgards were the gatekeepers. So they were the ones that were protecting and stopping this Furling sect or whatever from coming back. Because the other 4 races decided that actually we can't wipe out the Gold. It's not nice to wipe out an entire race, killing race is bad. So these Furlings, now the Asgard are gone, the Furlings have been able to return, these bad Furlings, as it were. They're not really bad, they were just attacked and then wanted revenge, sort of thing. So then those Furlings have decided basically that they should be in charge. They've been imprisoned for centuries, and they're just like, we're going to take over, sort of thing. And that was my idea for how that would be the interesting storyline. And again, we'd get to see a slow burn, because even though they'd be technologically advanced, they'd have to build colonies, they'd have to build ships, and it would take them a while to actually threaten us. So that gives you the opportunity but then you can build up towards a big battle sort of thing, which could be a movie. So I argued that you do 4 or 5 seasons building up, and then you do the movie. That's like built to you over that time. I just thought it was a cool idea. SGA Legacy. Yeah, we do need an end, Memnails. We do need an end to SGA. We need something to tell us more about what happened there. Yeah, another reason why we didn't get the SGA movie though was because there was an element of they were doing these direct to DVD movies, and it just fell in the wrong timing. The people stopped buying DVDs. The retail market just fell out. It fell out its arse. But the problem was they were a bit too early for sort of digital releases. So they fell in a really crappy middle ground where they couldn't sell the DVDs, but they weren't actually doing streaming releases yet. So they should have just gone to Netflix. I don't know, they just go to Netflix and go, you know what? We've got a couple of Stargate movies. Do you want to buy them? And Netflix probably would have done back then. Yeah, we saw Shale in the future where Atlantis is deserted and the Wraith are dead, according to the Holo Rodney. Yeah, we did. Would love to see that more. No comedy series. Come on, people. So I had this idea that there would be a Stargate Extreme, a Wormhole Extreme comedy animated series. And many of you hate that idea. I just think you need to open up your mind to that one a little bit and consider the possibilities, because you could give those creators a completely blank canvas. I love the comedy series of Lower Decks. I personally love it. I hate that it's in canon. So what happens in that series affects you the series. It annoys me, because then that takes away from the comedy a bit. You're like, oh, it's just silly because it's not real, sort of thing. But it is real, apparently, because it's in universe. So you do a Wormhole Extreme animated series where it's Stargate still, but it's not. You can have a completely blank canvas. You can do whatever the hell you want with it. You can make it funny, but the comedy stands up because it's not in universe. And you can even have characters coming over from Stargate and stuff and just having like little crossover things and stuff. And because it's not in universe, it's fun. So a comedy animated series could work, but that would have to be years down the line. This is it if the movie is successful, if 2 or 3 series are then successful. That's it. It's got to be Stargate's doing very, very well. Thank you very much. Now we can experiment a little and be a bit silly. We can play with it a little bit. It's not the sort of thing that can come in the first couple of years. It's got to be like 5 years down the line if everything else works and it's really successful. Pegasus Galaxy is still some stories to tell, I think, Seppi. I think you're right. I think any new series has got to cross galaxies because it just makes sense. Yeah, why not? So we've been talking a little while. Oh, Joseph Malozzi once posted a notepad sheet of the preliminary story arcs and episodes names for season 6, and it looked like it would have been great. Face purple crying. And he also has, we know a lot of what the movie would have looked like, and that again would have been incredible. I don't remember much about Infinity. You know what? I watched it, but I can't remember anything about it. SGA's cancellation was unrelated to SGU being made. That was a myth spread by the hate campaign due to misunderstanding on how the initial press release. It was not either or. It was. So there's 2 different things on that. On one respect, Brad Wright wanted to do SGU, and that's a fact. They wanted to do something different. They felt it was. They felt they had just done as much in SG1 and SGA as they needed to do, and they were sort of running out of ideas a little bit. But MGM were going through some massive financial problems, and Sci-Fi were not willing to pay for both seasons. So MGM were pushing for SGU. They wanted to relaunch something. There was most definitely an either or. It wasn't that, and that's not hate. It's just the reality of MGM's financial situation at the time and the Sci-Fi Network's financial situation at the time. There wasn't a demand for both. The way it was released, that one was cancelled and the one was, and then SGU got announced, made it look like we've got rid of SGA to make way for SGU, and that I know what you mean in that didn't look good and it was badly handled and actually caused a lot of hate towards SGU. But there was a financial reality involved. And yes, it should have been handled much better. If ideally, I think if they'd have got one more season of SGA at very least, my pants just got delivered. It's my Amazon delivery. I bought some new boxes. What you can do. But there was a financial reality that they just couldn't afford both. That's just the way it is. So, guys, I only wanted to talk for about an hour. So, I'm just going to whip down to the bottom, make sure there's anything else I wanted to talk about before we talked about the SGU rumours, how they make sense, but they're unlikely. Come on, let's be honest. That just seem unlikely. The Timekeepers game being delayed was a big reason because Amazon wanted it to be delayed. And yeah, the Popcast Brothers video was really interesting. It, like I said, agreed with most of the things we talked about. And yeah, it was as simple as that. So yeah, at some point Joe Flanagan has tried to buy Stargate. He did. That was true. MGM's Band Country and Sci-Fi going down is more to blame for SGA and SGU cancellations. Yeah, there's simply a financial thing. Yeah. There was Battlestar Galactica was winning loads of awards, and there was an element, and I think Joe Flanagan's 100% right on that. There was an element. I don't think Brad Wright and stuff talked about this. I think Brad Wright particularly wanted to do different. He felt like we'd become godlike, and there was just no threat there anymore. So he wanted to do something a bit different, where there was risk again, there was threat. I think the executives were looking at Battlestar Galactica and going, "Can you do something like that?" And Brad went, "Yeah, okay." And they copied Battlestar Galactica. I don't think that's true, but I think he did buy bits of it. So I think that's true. SGA was the best sci-fi had at the time. It was by a million miles. It was the best show they had. The best characters, the best thing. It was just a phenomenally good series. It was everything we had with SG1 in a different setting. I thought they got it absolutely perfect, to be honest. Sci-fi sidetrack says aliens are real. They are. Sci-fi thing. Oh yeah, guys, go over and my other video's just gone down now. It's just literally aired now, premiering right now. So right, guys, I am going to say a lovely good evening. I'm going to start doing these live videos a little bit more often. Give you the opportunity to throw in your opinion, just me, so you know that you're, if me and Harris are here or me and Matt are here, then it ends up being a conversation between us. I want you guys to have way more opinion. And no, they're not. Let's be honest. We're not the only life in the universe. Let's put a pin in that. In fact, the question about whether alien life in the universe is real or not is not a question. There is definitely alien life. The only question is are they coming here and visiting and alienly probing us? That is where I'm not so sure. But alien life does 100% exist. We should do a stream on why the Sci-Fi Channel went crashing down and became the reality TV movie Sharknado channel we all know and love and didn't love today. Sci-fi is just one of those genres that has ebbs and flows. It has popularity and unpopularity, and they kept making loads of sci-fi shows with too small a budget, and it just didn't work. And so, yeah, sci-fi struggled. But sci-fi's coming back at the moment. So, yeah. So, anyway, guys, I don't, unless that's one more song, honestly, pays dividends. I don't disagree with the brother SGU and SGA. At that point, we're running stagnant, but it's clear SGA was the favourite of the three. Brad Wright's series since has developed that SGU style further. Yeah. I'd be very disappointed with the only life form to evolve. I think there'll be life. Genuinely, I think there'll be life in our solar system. It just won't be intelligent. It'll be bacterial and things like that. I think our first contact with agent life will be we step off this planet, we step in something slimy, it's all sticky, and it'll actually be a bacterial, some sort of life. Intelligent life, I think, is going to be way rare. It's going to be so freaking rare because, I mean, everything has to be very specific. There has to be a long list of very happy coincidences for intelligent life to evolve. But I actually think the universe will be full of life. Intelligent that we can talk to, maybe not so much. That's why they don't want Brad Wright involved, because it would be like SGU. It would be like SGU, and they would want an SGA, bring way more people. That I don't think that is why. To be honest, Kronos. I think the reason is less thought through than that. They just want new blood. They want a new team. I don't think it's not that they don't want Brad. I don't think the thought of having Brad has even come across. I say that. I don't know this for certain, but I do know that Amazon weren't massively happy with MGM when they went back to Brad, and that when Brad was doing those scripts just before COVID, Amazon kept critiquing them and kept saying this isn't what we want, this is not what we wanted, and they kept being a bit of an arse. And they were the ones that were going to buy the show. So Amazon didn't want Brad even then. They wanted a different team involved. They wanted to go a different direction. The one thing I kept hearing was that I think Brad was trying to write a show for MGM budget. And again, I think he disagrees with this. I've sort of mentioned it to him and he disagrees with this. But what I heard at the time was, and again, it's just a rumor, but what I'd heard was that Amazon kept saying, go bigger, go bigger, go bigger. Do more, you can do more. We want something bigger. And that's and you can always hear an executive with a big cigar going, do it bigger, do it bigger. And they're saying, and the writer's going, yeah, what do you mean? And they're not being able to say, it's got bigger. So that is a thing. But I think maybe Brad was writing to an MGM budget and they didn't realize he had an Amazon budget. Maybe. So yeah. First I've encountered with something we step on. Yeah. But guys, thank you so much. I think that's been really interesting. I'm going to try to do this as much as possible I can in the future. Like I say, I want your opinions. I want to be able to talk to you, and we're going to do that. I'm now going to go because my throat hurts. How big is big enough for Amazon? What's Citadel? They went pretty big with that. Don't mean good, but they went pretty big with that. So yeah, Rings of Power is massively big. Thank you, Minales. Thank you, Kerry. Thank you, everybody else. Bring back the machine. That was my original channel. Nobody watched it, Andrew. It was only me and you. So nobody wants it. And to be honest, honestly, right, this is my last bit and I'm going, right? When you look into so many mysteries and UFO stories and things like this, and you actually look at it with a critical mind, you realize that a lot of them are just bull. There's always boring explanations for them. And so many times I did these talking about these mysteries, and when I looked into it, I was just disappointed. I'm like, that's not, this is nothing. This isn't real. A lot of UFO encounters, they're not UFOs. 95% of it's just not. But there are some mysteries. There's some genuine mysteries out there, but not enough. And I just got deflated by it. I just stopped believing in all these things that I'd wanted to think. And I've always said I'm not necessarily a tinfoil wearing hat guy. I don't necessarily believe a lot of these conspiracies, but I like the story, and it was ruining the story for me. So I had to stop doing it. Right, I will see you all tomorrow, guys. We will be talking aliens tomorrow, actually. So it will be like The Machine, my old channel, tomorrow. But we are also talking some top 10 really interesting sci-fi shows as well that we want to have a chat about. The top 10 shows from the noughties, early noughties, we're going to have a chat about. So have a good one. I will see you tomorrow at the same bat time, same bat channel, and we will have the whole gang together. See you then. Thanks, everybody.